artist, and I've been teaching for over 50 years, teaching children and teaching adults, and I really enjoy the teaching. And I paint everything that I see. If you're wondering where I get my inspiration, we travel. We travel all over the world. Also, I come from New York, and New York is an interesting place to paint. It's very colorful. Buildings, the traffic, the cabs, the people. And now, get your palette, get your brushes, and let's get started. My name is Judy Wengrovitz. I'm an artist, and I live in Fairfax County, Virginia. I'd like to welcome you to the Painter's Palette. And I have a very special treat for you today. Some of you may never have seen this technique. It could be called collage, or it could be called mixed media. So watch closely. Okay, I am now going to do a collage. And let me tell you the differences. Because we adhere rice paper to the collage, we work on a board instead of on paper. This is what the board looks like. Pretty heavy, I could barely bend it. I have this board clipped, and it's clipped to a piece of foam core. I'm going to show you some little pieces. Here's one, and it has the design in it. Here's one. Here's another one, different shape holes, square holes. Here's another one. This one has dots. Now I picked out something which I don't know if I will use at all. This is called rice paper too, at least that's what the store called it. And it's paper that has some imprints or texture here. And it comes in different designs. I have done a sketch here, and I'm going to adhere the rice paper to the board. Let's show you something. I painted just a little section at the bottom here to show you some of the rice paper against a dark background, because you can paint the rice paper on top of color, or you can paint the rice paper itself. Let's try it over here and see what happens. I'm just going to take a little piece of this rice paper, and I'm going to paint some of it. Let's see what happens. Let's see what it looks like. Okay. I am holding up this on a dark background. I'm just going to paint a little bit of this rice paper that has the squares. Let's see what that looks like. Ooh, that looks nice too. It has a different effect. And if you wanted to, you could just play around and put rice paper all over a board and just put different rice papers and see what happens. So that's one way of doing it. Another way is to paint it. Just put it on a white background and see what that looks like. What I do actually, I put it down with water, because if I use this glue, that glue is shiny and paint won't stick to it. So that you don't necessarily want your paint to float on top of it. So I go ahead and I stick it down just like I'm doing here. See, I'm touching it and sort of gluing it down with water. That will not stay permanent. After it's glued and you like it and you don't want to take it off, then you can go ahead and paint it with your glue, and it will fasten the paper down. I'm going to take this board off. And when you go to the store, they sell this rice paper in sheets. It's really not very expensive. All right, now, I went ahead and took some pictures. One picture I brought with me, and I just took a flower arrangement that I had in my kitchen on a table. I'll just go ahead and paint and see what happens. And I'm going to paint the leaves on this flower arrangement. And it's going to be in a vase, a glass vase. And I mixed my hooker's green and cadmium orange here. Through the glass, you see the different stems, and you also see the leaves above it. Oh, we have some drips here, and when I want to remove the drips, I go ahead and dry off my brush, lift off the drips. Before I forget, is to paint at least the shape of a flower. If I paint these flowers now, I won't lose them, and I'll know where they are. So and I have in my mind a certain color scheme. What color can I make this painting? Not much is sketched from the actual picture. So I have sort of an orangey red apples, and these look like oranges. And I thought, you know what? Let me keep the same color scheme throughout the entire painting. So I'm going to do that. And you asked me when I'm going to put my rice paper on. Well, I'll do a little bit right now. Let me get some yellow flowers here. And I tore off a little bit. And I'm going to paint it green. And then I'm going to take it and put it over, put it over here. Looks good. The holes came in the right place. Might take another little piece. I'm trying to decide if I should take something different. No, let's take this one. Remember, I said we're going to put this down just with water to see if we like it, and then with glue. I do like it. I think it's really fun. All right, I'll paint a little bit more around. I don't know what color to make this, and so if it comes out really bright, I think I'll just leave it. I'm going to put some more rice paper because I'm all excited about this rice paper. So it's weird rice paper because I have rice paper that's paper which tears easily. This is actually has really fibers in it. So you get little strings. I think that's a little dark. So because I didn't glue it down, I can lift it up. Do I like it? Yeah, I don't mind it over here. So I'm going to try it in another place. Yeah, like that. Okay, let's go ahead and do some of this background. All right, I put a little curtain over here, and I think I'm going to put something over here with more rice paper. And that's burnt sienna. Let's try another color. Let's try, this is like a raw sienna. I don't want to put rice paper every place. I just want it in a few places. Now I have a big curtain on the left side. Let's see what I'm going to do with that curtain. Okay. This curtain looks dark, except I'm going to put something light over it. This is sort of in brown tones. I just want to get paint all over this. I'll cover this, put some rice paper on top of that. Okay. And since we're trying out all the rice paper, let's try. Yep, I'm going to do this and then cut it with some scissors. Okay, I'm going to paint this orange. And paint it right on this white paper so I can see what I'm doing. Let's see what. Yeah. Okay, let's just do a little bit like this. I'm going to cut this now. You saw me pull it, so now I'm going to cut it. Let's see what it looks like. Sort of nice. Let's leave it here for the time being. I could leave this now without painting it, or, as you see, I have painted one side. Let's try the painted side. Let's see which one we like the best. Well, I sort of like the painted side, so I'm going to leave the painted side there. And I'm going to get it very dark behind the leaves. And I use the two colors. I use my burnt sienna and ultramarine blue, made it a dark background behind the leaves. All right, now let's cut up another little piece of this. Yep, I could put that down. And so you have to be very careful when you're working on the surface and it's not glued down. Let me go back over this just with water. And I'm just going to put this little piece on the bottom with no color. I can always paint over it later on. Let's go back to the top part. And I'm using Hooker's Green, some cadmium orange, all right, here's the glass vase, and let's put this, since this is a glass vase, we're going to put some water in there. Now, I told you it was mixed media, so I can do whatever I want to. So I'm going to take something else here and try it. I'm squeezing out my white gouache. Make sure the cap is on, secure. And I'm going to mix some green and yellow. I'm going to go back over. As you can see, it comes out a little bit lighter on here. I might even work on my curtain a little bit too. Now this could be on an orange table. Why don't we make an orange table? That's pretty strong orange. So instead of a watercolor painting, as I say, even though I'm using watercolors with this, I'm also using other mediums. That's why I can call this mixed media. In fact, let me go ahead and get some yellow. And get some yellow flowers here. I'm going to go ahead and this does not have to be realistic flowers at all. And let's gives you a chance to be creative. Putting some more green on the leaves, on the leaves over here. Even though I'm working from a photograph, I sort of added my own things. And it's beginning to fill out a little bit. I could add some more rice paper over here. Well, now which one do I want? Okay, let's go ahead and take. So I'm going to cut this more. And the more you pull it and the more strings that show up, the more interesting it comes out. Let me see what this looks like. This is really weird, but actually it's sort of interesting. Yep. I'm tempted now to fasten some of these things down with this glue, and I think I will. Because when you put the glue on, it gives everything a 3-dimension and it gets a little shiny too. So I squeezed out a little bit of this in this container. Now, you have to be careful here because you have to make sure your brushes are washed out. And I should have a piece of soap here. All right, now what I'm doing is just going over some of this rice paper with some of the glue. And you'll see, first of all, it's fastening it down. And you'll see it's beginning to shine too. So this is a method of sort of varnishing. And I make sure that all of this is fastened down so that if you frame it, you don't want to have pieces coming off. So I test it first. If I like it, I leave it there. And I can go ahead and just play around with it any way I want to. So I might, since there are some branches here, I'm painting right over the wet things that I did. And I want to make this look like glass. How am I going to do that? Okay, what I'm going to do now is to take my white paint, and I'm going to go ahead just outline it a little bit. So I went, actually look at what I did in this little spot. Okay, I put some green down, paint on the paper. I painted textured rice paper, glued it down. And then I went ahead and actually used the glue. And now I'm using some white paint to look like glass. I hope it looks like glass anyhow. Okay, so now let's go ahead and paint the, what I didn't do was coat my curtain. Now that's bad. So what I have to do here is to go ahead, take this, okay, and I want to get the background a little darker here. So I'm going to go ahead and darken the background a little bit. Pretty dark. Wanted to paint that dark to see if I could get it to stand out more. And while I'm doing this, I'm also thinking I could do something else to this. And what I can do after I got the dark background in is to go ahead and use my brush, which looks like this. Actually, it will go together here, which has a beveled edge, and I might make a little design here, like a little wallpaper. Little design over there, and I think I will put some more of this texture in the background. Why don't I go ahead now and paint this bowl of fruit? We have some apples. There are 3 apples here, actually. Okay, and there are 2 oranges here. I think we'll make them orange, actually. Now this is sort of an interesting bowl. I have to stick another apple orange in here. Let's make another orange. Okay, this bowl has got some unusual, I own this bowl. It has some unusual, it's made out of wood, and it has a nice design to it. So let's go ahead. What color am I using? I'm using now my raw sienna, and I've used some actually cadmium orange for my, and yellow mixed for these oranges. And now let's go ahead and make the bowl. If you could picture this, I don't know if I'll have the time to do it. I would probably like this rice paper with the holes, maybe entirely covering this whole area. Okay, now this is still on an orange table, so I sort of have to be careful. I'm getting a lot of orange here, maybe too much. Let's see. Actually, I feel like that I should make my white a little whiter. Okay. As I say, this bowl is sort of a strange shape. It has pieces of wood. While I'm here, I'm thinking that my apples can use a little bit of shading here. Get some shading on the apples, and I'm thinking, I just have a feeling that I feel like making that table red. So here goes. If this is a mistake, I'll find out pretty soon. No, not too bad. Oh, well, I have to be careful over here because I have to then go in here. Okay, so. Okay, now over here, I still have this brown. So I think maybe to do some brown, maybe another curtain. Okay, so let's get some dark brown in there. Now, because this is smooth board, it actually comes out streaky if you're not careful. But you could give it more than one coat, or let the streaks, see I'm giving it more than one coat, or let the streaks speak for themselves and give you some texture. I'm mixing together some my burnt sienna, and the ultramarine blue. It's getting pretty blotchy over here. Maybe if I put a design in it, it'll look better. From spot to spot, because as I have something in my hand, I feel it will go here. Okay. Oh, before this dries, it might be too late. Not too late. Almost, though. Almost dry. have to be aware of the things to do them before they dry, or you can re-wet things very often. Now I have to go ahead and put the design on this now really fast, again, before it dries up. And you know what? I'm going to try something while I'm here. Since I'm doing a bunch of patterns, let's go ahead and do a little bit of a pattern here. And painted the wrong thing. Just lift off the color. And so I'm just putting a little pattern down here. I think it's interesting to have a bunch of patterns. Do it over here too. Okay, well, I have a feeling that I'd like a little bit more stuff here. This is dried up very nicely. Let's see what happens if I paint over it some more. It now has glue on it, so if I paint over it, nice. Yeah, okay, I'm going to continue my brown back there, the dark brown. Now this board has kept very nicely. I put a lot of stuff on it. I put glue on it, I put paint on it, I put paper on it, and so far, just with the clips, it has laid flat, which I'm very happy with. I'm going to bring that green up in there. Okay, let's go ahead and continue this table down here. Actually, I had the urge to do that too. Well, I don't know about that urge to do that line, but pretty, well, I don't know, pretty bright. Maybe I can do a pattern in here too. Probably. Yep, can do that. I'm trying to stick to a warm color scheme. I don't really have any blues in here if you look. Most of it is oranges and browns. But I just had the urge to go ahead and do something like this. Okay, now I have this white area. It was supposed to be a placemat, but I think I might leave it white, off-white. Not too, just a little color through here. Texturing it again, and we got the end over here too, and let's see. We still have this whole area to fill in. And I know what we could do through here is to, let's see. Give it a little design here. I'm going to put some of my texture in here. Still putting textures in. Okay. Now, this is like lace, sort of like holes coming through. We could play around with this a lot and for a long time, because it seems to grow on you, and you can do more and more patterns. Actually, let's go ahead. Okay. All right, I'm going to get more of this holy paper. It sounds like religious paper. Do it on this side here. So let's go ahead. We're going to put the other paper over this. And I'm using, again, sort of raw sienna. Now, I have this spot to do and this spot to do. And something down here, and I think I'm going to do dark brown. Like a puzzle. What comes next? Okay. I'm using my combinations of my ultramarine blue and my burnt sienna. Actually, I've used up almost all my burnt sienna paint on my palette. Oh, and I'm forgetting to I want to put some of that pattern in here. And I'm forgetting to do it while it's still wet. So, okay, now I'm almost finished for the day. There's been a lot of stuff to put on here, and I'm actually not unhappy with it. I have to look at it for a while and see what it looks like. When I often look at my painting, I close it in like this. I hold my hands, put it together, close one eye, and see what it looks like. Not too bad. Now I'm going to add a little bit of this over here, and I'm going to cut it. See what this looks like. Yeah, I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to paint it probably orangey red. The color I'm using, again, is sort of a cadmium orange. Might be too bright, I don't know. Let's hold it up here, and let's wipe off this table. Good thing this table is plastic. Okay. See, actually, it's not too bad. I'm going to put this down temporarily. I'm not going to put glue on, and I am going to fill in that little spot with dark brown. And make my design inside, and okay, so this has been quite an adventure using the various kinds of rice paper, and this is almost like material rice paper, was a challenge actually. And I went and I used it, and I think it worked. I have to take it back to my studio, I have to put a mat around it, and I have to stand back and look at it for a while. So I hope that you learned something, and you might go ahead and try it too, because you can try and do lots of different things. So please go to the store and ask for rice paper and see the selection that they have. And thank you very much for coming, and I hope that you enjoyed everything. Goodbye.